first, I'm gonna have like a t-shirt of a Yoda, so you remember my name. And I'm the founder of a couple of startups. One of them is called Echo2 Wallet. We are a debit card, like this, where we plant trees for each purchase you make through us. That's it. So imagine a sustainable banking, or a sustainable Nubank or Revolut or Monzo, or think about your bank, but sustainable. How do we do it? We calculate the environmental footprint of each one of the purchases you make through us. Okay? So that Uber that you paid, or the taxi that you paid to come here, or whatever money that you had to use from your debit card, we allocate a price for the environmental impact in terms of CO2 emissions, and we translate it into the amount of trees that you chopped to make that purchase, or the amount of trees that you planted because doing banking through us. Okay, so that's in a nutshell what we do. When we started this project, we were thinking, what's the biggest problem that we have in terms of the equation of sustainability? We think the corporations, the countries, the governments, etc., the big polluters, and there are several other parts of the equation which are us, the end user, the individuals, right? And there are other parts, the unseen or the invisible emissions that we can't see yet. So when I'm also a professor in energy finance at the University of London, and we were having a discussion with the students is, how can we make things invisible, visible? Think about this. How can we make things invisible, visible? And what is something that is transversal to the economy? Money is how you make visible the invisible time you put in your life to work on something, right? Imagine you have a salary, you receive a payment for the amount of time, it's invisible, that you work for something. Emissions works in a very similar way. It's an invisible thing that where there is no price allocated to it unless you have a carbon tax or a carbon allowance trading in the system. So what we said was in the forum was like, maybe there is not really a good way. We were trying to calculate the carbon footprint, but if you think about it, it was a bit all blurry, right? Like, oh, maybe this car was a couple of kilometers long, or maybe this McDonald's, we don't really know how we do it. And one of the easiest ways to reach to that core of the equation is through our money. Follow the money, chase the money. So that was the problem, and we found the solution with us, with Echo2 Wallet. It's been a really good journey. We created the idea last year, roughly around February, during the middle of lockdown. And it kind of evolved into, oh, we just need to make things super sustainable. And the more we went in the journey, we realized that people don't understand sustainability. And I would like you to do something in your own homes or with your friends. Ask them separately, what is sustainability? And I will tell you 100% that none of them are going to give you the same answer. Ask your mother, what is sustainability? And then ask your father, what is sustainability? And then your best friend. None of them is going to give you the same definition of what is sustainability. But now ask them, how much is a burger? Roughly, they're going to give you the same value, okay? So the concept with emissions is very similar. The more we talk about sustainability, the more we talk about carbon emissions, but people don't understand carbon emissions. CO2, we don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. When someone says, oh, the journey to come here to Dalamat was roughly half a ton of CO2. We know that it sounds a little bit, a lot, but actually probably it's not too much. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So what we did is change the language. We had a really good session about storytelling with Brandy in Brussels, and it resonated with me so much because we had to change our story. Our story is not carbon dioxide equivalent. Our story are trees, okay? And it took us around maybe 12 months to make the change between, you have to understand your carbon footprint. to actually, you don't have to understand your carbon footprint. Let me do that for you. People are lazy. Let me do the calculation for you. I'm gonna tell you if it's a good thing or a bad thing. How? Each Uber ride that you take, we tell you how many bad trees is that, and how many good trees you planted through us. So it's a language, it's about storytelling. And when the moment we change, this is how it looks at the moment, the application. I would like to invite you to go to our website, join our waiting list. We're going to launch in July. But when we change the storytelling, things change for us. Because it was so easier to approach to investors when we tell them, instead of being, we are a bank that is going to tell your carbon footprint, to tell you, we are a bank that is going to let you see how many good trees you have and how many bad trees you have. Change the storytelling. In whatever things you do in your daily life, change your storytelling. Not to us. Do not preach to the converted. Preach to people who don't speak carbon, which is 90% of the people, okay? Storytelling, language, that matters a lot. So we also offer solutions for businesses. They are a big chunk of the equation, remember, so that matters a lot. And what we are offering is sustainable or eco cards for expenses. Imagine that you work for a large corporation, an Accenture. I used to work for Accenture, an Accenture, Walmart, etc. The big ones, they usually give you corporate credit cards, so you can spend money for teas, coffees for employees, for your transport, etc. Scope 1, 2, 3. Now imagine that you can trace your employees' emissions not only through money, but also through emissions. So we're helping them that way. The second way is we want to make all SMEs or small, medium corporations around the world sustainable ones. How? Through their money. If they bank through us or their bread is being sold through an Eco Wallet account, at least we can roughly calculate what's the environmental impact of that sale, right? That bread was 0.02 of a tree that you had to burn to make that sale, right? But we also have our tree planting efforts in the Amazon. I'm from Colombia originally, but I live in London. So we do a bunch of tree planting efforts it's called Cuenca del Amazonas, which is all the valley in the river. What have we learned from all this journey? Selling sustainability is extremely difficult, especially not because of greenwashing, but because everyone claims a little bit that it's sustainable. And second, sustainability is really expensive. Making a project truly sustainable is extremely expensive, not only through the marketing and education part that comes around, but also through the actual effort that is just a cost to you. A lot of companies that work with trees or with seagrass, as we do, or mangroves, what they do is they treat the trees as assets. Assets, something that has a value to your company. And what do? They usually plant trees, and during 15 years, they let them sequester as much carbon as they can, and then they chop them, because you can get some revenue out of the tree. But we don't do that. But one of the biggest challenges is that we cannot protect trees further than 35 years. So there is definitely going to be a challenge after 35 years. So we also came up with this really novel concept about carbon trading. Have you heard about carbon trading? Show of hands. Carbon trading, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the concept of carbon trading, and some countries have it, some countries don't, is that you take allowances of carbon, of the amount of tons of CO2 you're going to emit next year. You go to a system regulated by the European Commission, and you say, I'm going to pollute X amount next year. Can I have X amount of emission, of allowances? The system gives you X amount of allowances for that amount of pollution you're going to create, and you are able to trade it. Imagine like emissions are a Bitcoin, okay? You create a token out of the emissions, and the price go up and down according to how many allowances there are in the system, okay? In Europe, it started around maybe 16, 17 years ago, and it was not a very good of a success. But the whole idea was we need to put a euro sign next to carbon emissions, and it kind of worked, then it didn't, and now the price is crazy. What is the biggest issue? Only large polluters can participate into the system. Nobody here is allowed to, because in theory we pollute too little. But my theory says no. We are part of the equation. We should be able to trade our own emissions. What does it mean? If Brenly is paying for an Uber ride, he is emitting X amount of carbon, and that's going to drive the price up. But maybe you paid for a bicycle ride, like the sharing schemes for your bicycles. You're driving the price low because you are polluting less. So imagine that it's not only you or him, it's a million people that is driving the price up and then driving the price down. And you can do a bunch of things. Now imagine imagine this carbon trading platform, almost like a Bitcoin, but it's a regulated system where there is actually people behind driving the price up or down. We call it in our system, Eco2 Exchange is the name of the company, carbon-based behavior. Carbon-based behavior. The carbon go up and down according to your own behavior. Okay. So I'm not going to work about. Well, I'm not going to talk much about this. We are a female-led business, and we are very cheesy on this. So get ready. We are the Fantastic Five of female fintech. Okay, and we're super proud. We're super proud. We've been working really hard, and it's been a really difficult journey to try to fill the positions. It has to slow us down, I need to admit. So we had to create a bit of like good practices on how to hire balance in terms of suppliers or outsourcing efforts. To the point that we realized that we cannot be 100% female. Now we have to be at least 60% in our purchasing and supply efforts. So some of the cool stuff about us in terms of traction. We are currently being mentored by Barclays. We got funded by the European Commission last year. We got around $500,000 from them. We won a couple of awards, one in Dubai in the World Fair, one by MasterCard, one in Lisbon, High Impact Startup by Web Summit. And we're going to pitch in another one hopefully next week. I'll let you know how it goes. So it's been an amazing journey. What do we need? We need ambassadors. We are about to launch in July, so we need to start building the brand. What does sustainable banking means? It means took your debit card and make it an eco card through us. We need people that talk to universities. We need funding. We need partnerships. We need creativity. We need. Remember what I told you about selling sustainability? That is difficult. We need people that is going to give us new ideas on how to sell sustainability to people who don't understand sustainability, right? So that's what we need. And last but not least, we're looking for a tech team, but I think we have that sort. So I don't want to take too long, but I do want to end with this message. When tackling sustainability, it's the same with money. Think about the things we can't see. The invisible things are what matter. Think about this room where we are right now. What is invisible for us that we can't see? Imagine your scope 1 emissions, which is the one that you're immediately emitting for being in this room. Now imagine the emission 2. Maybe you left your heater on, but we can't really see it, but it's your responsibility, it's part of your equation. Now imagine scope 3. At home, in your own places, maybe you left some of the sockets plugged. That is still part of your carbon, right? At this specific point in time, actually, our carbon is what the beautiful lady is cooking at the moment, and she's using the water and etc. And that's also part of our emissions. So whenever you're thinking about emissions and carbon, think about the invisible things that you can't see. And you can find the same with money. Think, what are you paying? What penny extra are you paying that you are not noticing? Netflix is charging you a little bit like extra for this. Why? Someone is just charging you 10 cents. And it looks like nothing because when you look at your balance statements, it looks just like an adjustment, but it's your money. So my last message is, this is Equity Wallet. We need your support. Join our waiting list. And if you want to be able to work with me one way or another, help me save the world, one payment at a time. Sorry, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. What's your incentive to get people to join? Like, the concept's great, but like thinking of a person like I've got Monzo, I've got Revolut, I've got Starling, for example. But like you said, like you're reaching like the other 90% that doesn't believe, right? So what's the incentive you're offering? Because I think, I don't know, if I saw an ad, for example, for EcoWallet on the TFL trade or something, right? Like, are you offering an incentive beyond sustainability? Like, I don't know, like it could be like a referral scheme, or it could be like something to get someone who thinks like, okay, I'm doing something good. But most people are not. It's like how you give charity. Like you have this person who feel like you've done a bit, but beyond that, like you're not really thinking out of your way in a day to day. Like everyone's consciously not using straws and stuff. But like with the banking, you need like a persuasion factor that goes beyond. Okay, you should switch your Monzo or your Santander or something to like your wallet, but why? Like I think just using trees, because it's still a bit more of a process. Like search engine's easy, like I can use the planting tree site than like Google, but how are you thinking of like getting people to come on like a refer a friend scheme? Because the Revolut offered like £40, for example. Like if I referred someone and joined, that's an incentive for me to build a community to be like, okay, I refer all these people here, I'll give them, I don't know, I had friends who ran schemes on this, so like I refer a friend, I'll give you £10 and you refer someone, I think you'll need something, or have you considered it? Like,
no. So to answer your question, we want to aim to reach first people sustainability and young professionals, etc. But we do also offer referrals. They are not as high as the big competitors.
Revolut's a bit crazy.
But what we're working at the moment is that our app is. You remember Tamagotchis? Probably you're too young for this, but do you remember Tamagotchis?
Yes.
So the more you do banking, the healthier is your Tamagotchi, which is the Equity Wallet app, right? And that the Tamagotchi is actually your Amazon, your own personal Amazon rainforest. And the better you bank, the more referrals, the more you're active, then your Tamagotchi is just a bit healthier. And we had a really good discussion with our UX designers, because we don't want us to be like an addictive app. It's not like an ethical thing to do, but we thought it was like a healthy thing that at least people were able to see how your purchases are either affecting. So you have like the burn Amazon, but you also have your green Amazon. And you're able to at least see how that works. But we do offer a referral scheme, and so everyone here knows, when a bank is offering a referral scheme, it's not really a referral scheme, okay? It's called a cost per acquisition per client, and basically what they're doing is outsourcing the cost per acquisition per client to you, okay? So it's not that you're giving £60 for free, it's that they are saving £60. Okay.
And people close bank accounts after.
Yeah, of
but
course.
it's
But we do offer.
Yeah, it's a good way to kind of like market it, because other people like sustainability. Like I use apps and stuff, but if I saw EcoWallet on the street, I don't know how many people would be like, "Yay, let's switch!" Yeah, like "Yay, let's switch! I'm going to be planting trees." Like the concept works, but I think it needs a little bit more on like the general public that you're trying to convince, like why they should just switch.
So we did an academic research last year with University of London, of course, and we realized that around 70% of people would like to bank with like a sustainable option, even if it's just for their debit card, but only 35% will be willing to pay for it. Okay, so I don't think the issue is having new clients. I think the issue is actually make business out of the customers. So I think our challenge is not getting new ones, but actually make the ones that we have to pay for a service.
I think it will be better if we move on because there are other people's also.
I can talk to you later.
If you have other questions individually, let's.
Yeah, cool.
Because we have to move on. There are some people also they will do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Thank you so
thank you.
much.